Hello, people, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Tech of Tomorrow podcast, where we believe that the real technology of the future are the humans building the future. My guest today is a friend of the show because we had his co founder with us last month, and now we have him. So it's the first time I got on the show two people from the same company. I'm talking about Knowby as a company. You probably remember them because they are on a mission to capture humanity's know-how and make everybody an instant expert. So goodbye to instruction manuals and welcome to being able to do stuff without just cursing the unclear thing you're reading. Now, his name is Clint Collins. He has a background in enterprise management. He's fluent in English, German, and Indonesian, which we're going to be asking about. And, his company won an award recently. Other topic we'll go deeper into. And he's a former filmmaker. Hello, Clint.
Hey, Sebastian, thank you so much for having me on the show.
My pleasure. Listen, thank you for making the time. It's been a long time in the making. And how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's starting to warm up where we are here, so I'm really looking forward to getting some warm weather coming into summer. How about yourself?
Same, for the audience, we are both in Germany. If you remember Grant Rogers from the show from the first episode that we did with somebody from Nobi, Grant is in Australia, so it was 6 a.m. and I was calling like in the evening. Clint is like myself in Germany. What brought you to Germany, Clint?
Like most people, I am married to a German, so not like most people being married to a German, but coming to Germany. So my wife is German, and we spent the last 17 years together in Australia, and we decided it's time to, bring our kids over and get them to understand their other side of who they are, the German side. So introduce them to German culture, they're at German school, and also spend more time with my wife's family over here as well, which has been wonderful.
How long have you been in Germany?
We've been here for about 2 years now. So pretty much since Knowby kicked off, they thought it'd be great to have someone who's actually based in Europe. So I cover the Europe, Middle East, Africa, as well as the East Coast of the US. And I have a colleague in Australia, John, that covers Asia Pac and the West Coast of the US. So it's been very convenient.
That's pretty cool. I like international teams. What do you love about Germany?
What's not to love? uh, I mean, Usually, I mean, most people would say the food, if you're into schnitzels and sausages, and of course the beer. But for me, the thing that I love is actually the mountains. So we're in the south of Germany, close to the Austrian border, and we spend, every weekend up hiking around the mountains or, on the lakes, those kind of things. So for me, it's just such a beautiful area of the world, and it's quite undiscovered actually from a tourist perspective. So it's still nice and hidden.
Have you been to northern Italy, like the extreme north, like Südtirol? That's a great
Yes,
area for hiking.
gorgeous area. It's literally the same thing as what we're seeing over here. Spent a lot of time around Gardasee in Germany, Lake Garda. So
Yes.
it's pretty much I think that's a part of the German, like an extension of the German state, I think as well. Most of Germany will go down to the Gardasee, or most of Europe goes down to the Gardasee, starting from pretty much May to September every year, right?
Yes, I used to live there, by the way. I lived in Riva del Garda for 15 years.
Stunning spot, beautiful location.
It's like living in a postcard. It gets pretty boring in winter because no tourists are coming, but you see the town. It's like for people listening that haven't been to the Garda Lake area, just visit. It's wonderful. It's like living inside a postcard. Everything is so clean, so perfect, so colorful. Of course, it's Italy, so it did inherit the great food. Definitely recommend it.
Yeah, it's impossible to get a bad photograph around that area. Like literally, whether you're on the north or the south of that lake, it's just absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. So yeah, I absolutely love it there.
Yeah, it's a great area for outdoors people too. You can do sailing. You can do a lot of stuff on the lake. The lake is like I remember the first time I see it, it looked like a sea to me because it is quite big. You don't see the
It's
end. You
huge.
don't see the other side of the lake.
That's right. And we spent some time around Limona as well. And it's like you've got this village, and it's just got this wall of mountain right behind it, and just this beautiful, gorgeous lake in front of it. So it's absolutely stunning. Simeona as well, like this beautiful little old town. Like, there's just no such thing as a bad spot around there. Absolutely love it.
True, the whole area is beautiful. And listen, take me back to the beginnings of Nobi, right? How did you meet Grant? How did you guys get started?
Well, Knowby is the brainchild of Grant, as you've spoken about with Grant. And Grant was basically working through all the different, usual startup kind of fairs. They've got different startup challenges, and he stumbled across a brother of a good friend, you might say. So David is also one of our co-founders, and David has been involved with startups for a long time, well before they were actually called startups. So David looked at Knowby and thought, "There's more to this. There's something here, like." It is basically the simplicity of Knowby that drew him to it. The idea that you can capture a story with a little bit of video and some text, create a translation in any language, and share it with anybody in the world within minutes was just something that he really held on to. So he introduced it to his brother, John, who has been a CIO in many companies all around the world, across multiple industries. And John and I used to work with John actually at a previous company. And and John called me up and said, check this out. And so I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. I had a look at it. And I was like, at that time, I was actually on an enterprise asset management project. We're doing a really large implementation. And I thought if we had this product going into that really large implementation, we would have been able to shortcut so much of the frustration and hassles because we would have been able to document down to the task details about how things happen, how things work, how things operate. And to be able to have that in advance, like a time and motion study, and then to be able to go in and improve on that. Sorry.
No.
And then to be able to go in and improve on that. And so I'm saying if we were able to have that during that project, we would have been able to go in, create like a time and motion study for each task that's going on. And then while we're there, be able to improve those tasks so that by the time we actually come into implementation, we would have had this massive database full of all the different tasks and projects and things that need to happen across the organization. So Knowby really, it enables you to capture what's happening inside your organization and to be able to really make sense of what it is and then to be able to share it extremely quickly. So that's what drew me to it.
It's great to see your perspective, right? Because you and Grant have completely different backgrounds. So how was
Very.
it for you to come together with somebody in running a company when the two of you have such different backgrounds? Like Grant is a former dairy farmer and you're basically on the enterprise side. How does that impact the dynamic in how you drive the company forward?
Actually, if you look at all of our organization, everybody has such a diverse background. Our chief technology officer has a background in designing video games. Yeah, I've mentioned David Ansley as well. He's got a background in consulting and startups. And John's the CIO. So my background, I was in the operations space, in the IT operations space. We worked with building a lot of different applications for critical infrastructure sort of utilities companies. So for me, it was like sort of a logical step to be able to go, oh, okay, here is a tool that could be used across any critical infrastructure company. And Grant had the seeds for it, and we built a team full of people who are totally diverse, which ultimately is exactly what you want in a team because it drives innovation ideas. And so for me, it was really about being able to oversee the construction of Knowby as a tool that could be scaled up. All the background information in there, the security assessments and all that kind of stuff is stuff that I've been through in the past. So it's about having all that background experience to take Knowby from where it was as a cool little idea to being, an enterprise grade application available on any device, available anywhere in the world. Those kind of things is sort of my forte.
It fascinates me because one of the things that stuck with me from the conversation with Grant was that Knowby is one of the very few companies that are an exception to the rule. You don't want to sell to everybody, right? So ideally, a startup would want to go more vertical rather than horizontal. But in your case, your solution is so adaptable, so flexible that you could actually, and you did it. You went horizontal and you scaled that successfully. So was there ever any challenge in doing that? And the follow-up question to that is, does the fact that the company culture is so diverse in terms of backgrounds of people play a role in how you're able to go horizontal rather than just vertical?
Yeah, so Grant would have mentioned the great thing about Knowby is that, it's being able to be used in any industry. And the challenging thing about Knowby is it's also being able to be used in any industry. So, how do you take this nascent technology, which most people don't even know that they need yet, and how do you get that out there across, horizontals and verticals? And yes, it's challenging, I'll be honest. But the way we've done that is, sorry, one second. Jake, I'm just on a call, mate. Sorry, this is my son.
We love a family moment. Don't say sorry for that. That was pretty cool.
No, he's used to coming. He's used to coming in and giving me a hug every now and again. He's a beautiful boy. So
See, it's wonderful. Like, fully support that.
Thanks. So yeah, the challenge with Knowby is how do we go from being this nascent new product that's supported in any industry to being on the top of everyone's mind. And we are very fortunate to have very large contact groups, so like large networks, not just us, but our shareholders as well. So we've leveraged a lot of them to say, look, we know Knowby can help you in this specific scenario, in this specific industry. Can you help us with an introduction? And so that's really been a lot of word of mouth and referrals that has actually got it further. And once we've got a few customers on board and they like what we're doing, it's actually been them that have actually gone and said, look, you should speak to these people. Or they've actually said, hey guys, have a look at Knowby because this is really going to solve a lot of problems. It's solving our problems and it will solve the same problems for you too.
It's wonderful, right? Because does that play a role in sales? Meaning, for a company that goes horizontal, usually it's very hard to approach the prospect from an education perspective. It takes too long, right? The sales cycle is endless because they don't see the value. And by the time they see it, they're too busy, they're too skeptical. And by the time they see it, like 6 months went by and you haven't made any money. So, does the fact that you get all these introductions from customers and shareholders contribute to just making the sales cycle shorter just by virtue of trust? Like if they are recommended by these guys, I can just trust them and invest in this solution. Is that how it plays out for you?
Yeah, a warm lead is always a very powerful tool to have. There's no doubt about it. So, having the trust of, an investor or the trust of a leader in their industry or their organization, being able to say, hey, guys, have a look at this product. That's something that you just can't get from cold email marketing campaigns or anything like that. So, being able to build the trust with the customer first and then being able to deliver that. I would say on top of that as well, Knowby is an extremely simple product. So it is not hard to understand the value. It is based off cognitive load theory by Professor John Sweller, who's also an Australian. And the idea of cognitive load theory is that if you create simple step-by-step instructions that walk a person really quickly through the tasks that they need to do without putting too much load on their brain, so cognitive load, then two things happen. The first thing is they learn quickly. And the second thing is the level of quality increases. So they can deliver exactly what you need to do. So if you go out and ask or tell someone how to do something, for example, Sebastian, have you ever been told how to do something and then sat there and thought, I've got no idea what they asked me to do?
Yes, of course.
And in the same token, have you ever told someone to do something and then when they come back to you, you're like, it's like you're speaking a different language?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Knowby comes in. It becomes this tool that using short video and text allows you to very quickly understand what's going on. That text underneath can also be translated in over 130 languages. On top of that, we realized that, hey, that's all well and good, but it takes time to create Knowbys. So we created a tool called Knowby AI, which allows you to video a process and then using voiceover, just talking over it, you can actually just capture the entire process. So say, let's say I'm changing a bicycle tire. You can put like a little harness on, so bear with me for a second. You can put a little chest harness on like this. So if you're in the factory, for example, or whatever you're doing, put a chest harness on, grab your mobile phone, put it in there, use this, point at whatever you're doing, put your hands in, and you can talk about whatever you're doing. Step one, I have to basically take the tire off. Step two, I pull the bead out. Step three, I do this. And then once you've done all of those things, you take that video, you upload it into Knowby AI, and it turns it into step-by-step instructions. All of the steps are created with the little video loops at the exact right time with the text on the side. And in addition to that, you can take that text and you can share it with anybody in the world, any language. There's no accent, there's no concerns about specific words that may be used in different areas. We work through all of that, and then it can be shared over URL. It can be shared over QR code. It can be embedded on a web page. So it really takes the pain out of sharing information and makes it available to anybody.
That's wonderful. How long did it take to develop Nobi AI?
It, it's 9 to 12 months, I would say. It's not so much the time that it's taken to develop the AI, it's the time that it has taken AI to get to the point where we could leverage it effectively. So there are few fantastic use cases of AI. A lot of it, it helps you, like ChatGPT, no doubt about it, groundbreaking. It helps you to be able to take words and improve them and improve formatting and those kind of things. But for the most parts, the AI that has been implemented into most applications is simply the same AI that's built into Copilot or the same AI that's supposed to be built into Apple Intelligence. Knowby has really taken the ability to detect what's happening inside the video and inside the speech inside the video, and turn that into being able to crop the video into the right locations and ensuring that what people are saying in the video is also what people are seeing in the video. So that has been quite challenging because we've needed to leverage multiple different models out there to be able to get that experience.
At the same time, it's kind of an advantage, right? Because a lot of companies that leverage AI right now get have trouble selling because at some point all they use is a one API with one LLM.
Sorry, one sec. I just
So
closed
no
it down.
worries.
Yeah.
So their problem becomes that clients see it as a ChatGPT wrapper. You don't have that problem because what you implement cannot just be done with one API and one model. It's way more
No,
complex than that.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if we wanted to simply just add, the ability to reformat your words and those kind of things, that's all built in. So we didn't see any value in adding that into Knowby. So Knowby, it's basically a content platform, you might say, for specific organizations to be able to store and share their IP. So the big problem with a content platform, much like the likes of YouTube, is that you have what's called a cold start problem. And the cold start problem means that the people who want to read those instructions can't get value out of it until the instructions are created in the first place. And so the use of Knowby AI shortcuts the creation process of step-by-step instructions from what could be, if you're making a YouTube video or creating standard operating procedure documents, could be days or weeks. Or if you're creating a traditional Knowby, half an hour, 45 minutes, down to literally seconds. And I can actually I can show you, how it all works. So you can take a video of a process, and within the time it takes to upload that video into Knowby AI, add an extra 15 to 30 seconds later, you have a step-by-step process that's created.
I love it. So this would help even, let's say, in HR, right? You recruit somebody into the company, the whole onboarding process could be basically automated. It could be just at least optimized by having an OB telling, because I've been in that situation. When I had a job, I walked in the first week and like somebody told me kind of what to do, but at the same time, I had a lot of free time that week and I felt kind of useless because, okay, what am I supposed to do next? What's the next step? Where do I find this? And you always had to ask people. If I had maybe an OB, probably somebody could have just recorded for me. Here's your first week of work, who to talk to, what to do, how to do your job. Is that a use
Exactly.
case?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's exactly the kind of thing we've seen. So there is an example of a person who started in a manufacturing company. Day one, normally what happens on day one, you come into the company, and then you shadow someone for, let's say, a period of 2, 4, 6 weeks. Yeah. So two things are happening there. The person who is shadowing the new starter they aren't doing their own job. And they're probably getting a little bit frustrated because they don't want to basically be bringing on new recruits and dealing with newbies the whole time. They want to be focusing on, the thousand other things they need to deal with. And they're usually an experienced person. And what that does is that makes the new starter actually feel quite bad because they feel like they're taking time away from that other person. And the new starter has this problem, like this confidence loss, I would say, because they don't feel like they're adding value from day one. So in this construction organization, this manufacturing company, sorry, in this manufacturing company I was talking about, they handed this person a set of Knobys and said, look, you've got the basics of how to do stuff. You need to know, how to weld, how to cut aluminium. I need you to build these boxes, and here are the step-by-step instructions to do it. On day one, that person was valuable. They were adding value to the organization. They weren't taking time away from the person that's actually supposed to shadow them. They were delivering value as if they'd been there for months already. And that is the huge leap that you can't do unless you provide really powerful instructions to your team.
That's I love it. What's your favorite industry to see Knowby applied in?
Um, Honestly, it's the charity industry. So part of what Knowby does is it's capturing humanity's know-how and making everyone an instant expert. And we're not elitist about that. We want this to be something that can be there for everyone. I spent a lot of time growing up in India, in Indonesia, in the Middle East as well. And one thing that I know is that communication, or the need to communicate, is something that's universal. So in those countries, you'll see people of all classes, they will all have a mobile phone and they'll all know how to use it, and they'll all have access, nowadays, most of them will have access to some form of the internet. So when we can democratize the knowledge and allow anybody in the world to be able to follow simple step-by-step instructions in their language, that is where I see Knowby being of true value. So examples of new mothers being shown techniques about how to look after their baby in Timor-Leste or Africa. So if I'm passionate about any one industry, it's being able to really reduce the privilege gap and be able to make Knowby available to everyone in the world. So as part of our Knowby offering, we do make Knowby available for free to charities to use it. It's being used in refugee and immigration spaces already. So we're really, really proud of that.
That's wonderful. And I can see this, areas where education, there are remote areas where education is not easy to access. And maybe you need to train medical personnel that need to follow some steps to draw blood, I don't know, to make a cut, to save somebody, how to sew a wound. They
Yeah.
could just look at how it's done.
So when I was growing up, I was living in the foothills of the Himalayas in India. I was at school there, and we would go off and we would deliver pressure cookers, because a major issue in India was at the time was in the hill areas. There will be massive deforestation happening because they'll be using that wood to be able to grow. So people had to walk further and further away in order to find wood. And then what was happening is the wood was being taken from the hillside, and it would lead to deforestation, of course, and landslides and all those other, like erosion, things like that. So, the idea was pressure cookers could help them. And so we would walk, sometimes for days to get to small villages, teach them how to use pressure cookers, and then hopefully reduce the amount of fuel that they need to boil rice and lentils and those kind of things in order to reduce the deforestation. So it was a long shot, don't get me wrong. But now with a simple QR code, people can get that information directly from the device. And there is network in those areas of India nowadays. So it's not as if that's a long reach anymore. So you can go and reach the most distant, remote places of the world right now, and you can train people with a link in a QR code.
Also, this could help even, home appliances, for example. You buy
Yes,
something
absolutely.
new, you scan the thing in the box, it's the washing machine, it's the dishwasher, it's maybe the pressure cooker. You have a
Yeah,
home, it's full of these buttons, you know what to do. I guess you could just click on the phone and look
yeah,
at how it's done.
absolutely. You scan it and it will give you the latest information, like how to set up your coffee maker. Now, the big difference as well is um, So if you see IKEA furniture as an example, they have wonderful step-by-step instructions, no words, but they're all printed on paper. And when you create a product and then you send that product out with the instructions printed on it, if there is a mistake, it's fire and forget. You can't change it. So with Knowby, two things happen. One, you don't require any printed instructions. So you're not cutting down trees to print paper. You're not making, the world more covered in paper or more reducing, availability of, let me say that again. You are not destroying the environment for the sake of some simple instructions. But most importantly, when those instructions get out there, and if there is a problem with them, you can make a change straight away at the source. The next person to scan that QR code is going to get the latest instructions straight away. And it's actually been used. So as an example, a company had sent a product from one side of Australia to another, and they've realized that they've forgotten a crucial piece inside this product. So they've gone, oh, well, and this is like a large tray to go on the back of a car. And so they're like, oh, hang on. They shipped the other part across. And while they did that, they actually took the instructions and updated them. So as soon as that product arrived there, the person who implemented it had no idea that they'd actually forgotten it. They received the part that was missing first, and then the other part came a couple of days later. And then they put it together. And as far as instructions were concerned, everything was fine. If they would have had to do that previously, the instructions would have been wrong. They would have had a separate set of instructions to go out for the part that was missing. They would have then need to contact the person as well and say, hey, we've made the wrong instructions. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And then it would have just delayed everything so much and added so much overhead into that actual transaction.
It's funny because you telling this story reminded me of when I was in this office and we bought a new coffee machine, a professional one, right? The ones you had to put the thing in, grind the coffee. Very artistic coffee for an office, but you know how it is, office culture. You do want to live well in the office. And nobody knew how to use it, nobody knew how to clean it. So the first weeks we had the location lead explain to everybody, stop working, and you would ask for his help, and he would come to you and he would stop coding or selling because he did both things. And he would just explain you how to use the coffee machine. But it wasn't scalable. So at some point I was like, listen, can you explain this to me again so I can record it and cut it down? I chopped it up in a TikTok style video and I uploaded it to Confluence. Terrible tool, by the way. So I uploaded it to Confluence. Now the issue was now we had instructions to clean and make coffee and even to make cappuccino. The big issue was that nobody knew that they were in Confluence, and even if they knew, they were just too lazy to access it. Now I'm
Yeah.
thinking about Knowby, and that could be okay. There could be a QR code in there, and people could just access that quite rather quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, in fact, one of our customers, Australia is a very big place, and they had mining sites that were thousands of kilometers away from large cities. And so, literally, in this example, there were coffee machines, and for when there was a problem with the coffee machines, what they had to do previously was they had to put someone on a flight, fly them out to that camp, and then that person will go in for a couple of minutes or a couple of hours and fix a coffee machine. So rather than having those call outs, they put some QR codes on there. The people will be able to scan the QR code on the coffee machine and fix it step-by-step instructions. And it saved thousands in call outs. Like it completely revolutionized the way they actually delivered service from there.
Yeah, even the customer both from the service provider or whatever, it reduces the time because you don't have to send somebody, and
Mhm.
from the customer experience side, it's I don't think it's pleasant for the customer to have to fix something, meaning have to call somebody and have to wait for them, look at them while they work, and you have to do the small talk, and you
Mhm.
have to interrupt what you're doing. This makes it just immediate.
Immediate, exactly. It changes everything. It's really, really, really groundbreaking.
What's your vision for Nobi in the next 5 years? Where do you want to take this company?
So um, ultimately, we want to make Knowby accessible to everybody in every organization. So the pricing for Knowby is set low on purpose. So it's $3 per user per month. And the idea there is significantly less than all of our competitors, but it's something you don't need to think about. So for it to be able to scale and grow, and then if we can grow it more into enterprise in those areas, then we can also allow Knowby to be used more and more for free. So have a freemium version of Knowby that people can use to be able to share and create information and instructions as they need to. So for me, it's about making it scalable and usable in any industry in the world. And then it is about making it available to everyone in the world.
What's the main challenge you see in getting there?
Sorry, one sec.
No worries.
The main challenges on getting to that is Knowby is a product, it's there. So we've already got the product that needs to be that can get there. So the main challenge is really about how can we show everybody how good Knowby is so that they are able to experience it the way that we see it. And I think that's not just a challenge that we had. I think there's a challenge that every single startup has. You know, it's kind of like the valley of despair, you might say, that you know you've got a great product, your customers love the product, but how can you get that growth to be something that's, you know, something that's able to be used elsewhere and able to add value everywhere? And so that's the hardest part. The hardest part about Knowby is that it's such a nascent product and it's so different from the traditional way that PDF documents and YouTube videos work, that it's only when you play with it for the first time, you go, oh my God, this is so logical. Why don't we do this? And so the hardest part is, if Henry Ford asked his customers what he wanted, or what they wanted, they would have said the faster horse. Now, I don't know if he actually said that or not, but the thing is that it's right in the sense that without them knowing exactly what they need and what they're able to see, then they don't actually know that that product is actually what they need. The same with the iPhone. Everybody was happy with using styluses or using the Nokia phones until the iPhone came out. And Jobs said, this is the product that everybody doesn't know they need. And I think it's the same with Knowby. It's so simple and easy to use. The challenge is how do we quickly and effectively show everybody how easy it is to use and how much value it can add to their organization. If they were to use something like Knowby instead of doing a big bang, you know, implementation of a large piece of software, or even in advance of that, the amount of value they'll get at such a reduced cost and effort is significant. That's the sort of challenge, is trying to get people to think like that.
It sounds like a mix of a storytelling and an awareness challenge to some degree,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's all about letting people understand, you know, the journey that Knowby has been on, and where we see Knowby being, and how it can really add value to them and to the people they deal with. It could be their upstream customers or the downstream customers. It could be people who are coming and staying at their house. So there's no real limit on people who need access to good instructions.
Hmm.
To date, there's no real easy way to provide good instructions. That's Knowby's market, is if you need to share instructions with someone else, that's where we come in, and that's where we can do it faster, quicker, and to more people than ever before.
Yeah, because I think still with most products, we are still kind of stuck with instruction manuals, with paper. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that I remember, I bought a record player recently. When I opened the box, there was an instruction manual on paper in it. The only product I remember that has no instructions when it comes out of the box is the iPhone and the MacBook. You just open them and they pretty much are so intuitive. You can dive right in, but everything else looks like it could use Knowby, because I remember buying for a Christmas gift 2 years ago one of these big it's not a pressure cooker, it's one of those things that does like 10 things at once.
Mm-hmm.
And the instruction manual is like 100 pages of thing.
Yeah,
Nobody reads that, actually.
nobody does, and it doesn't need to be that hard. You know what we used to call it shelfware. So basically, they're creating documents that get put onto a shelf and collect dust.
Yes, much like
So
my coffee machine video on Confluence.
So when we actually spoke to, we reached out to John Sweller, who is he's the emeritus professor of educational psychology at
Mhm.
the University of New South Wales and the man behind cognitive load. And we asked him, what he thought. And he came back to us and said, "Good heavens, we've been waiting for something like this for a long time. I keep buying things with stupidly structured instructions and wishing that the people who developed the instructions had a minimal grasp of cognitive load theory."
Yes, because I mean, I'm a human brain nerd, right? And decision fatigue is a thing, meaning nobody is ever in the right state of mind to focus on some instructions and not feel drained. But if you get them at the wrong moment, meaning we can just make only so many decisions per day. The more
Exactly.
it's like we have a tank of decisions. The more decisions we make, how to dress, what to have for breakfast, which fragrance you want to wear, this color or that color. Will I have this meeting? Am I feeling well enough? Should I decline this meeting? There is a sales call. Will I offer this price or this price? Each little decision, should I go fill my bottle of water, drains your decision tank. So by the time the end of the day comes, you catch a customer in a sales call or in a cold call at the end of their day, they're gonna be so tired of making decisions and they don't even know it that you find them in a worse mood, sadly.
Mhm.
But that subtle variation is what gets you a yes or a no, is what gets you a negative outcome. Is, in your case, it's what makes somebody either understand the instructions or not
Mhm.
understand the instructions. So yes,
Yeah.
cognitive load is a significant factor in everything we do. The more we reduce it, the better it is for everyone.
And you think about a person who needs instructions, right? First of all, they're feeling vulnerable because they don't know something. So they're looking for something to be able to tell them that. Secondly, they're frustrated because they need to be able to do something and it's not intuitive. And then you're taking that customer of yours and you're giving them really bad instructions. The next step is anger and frustration, right?
Mhm.
So how do you make that a very beautiful experience? And Apple, again, we've copied a lot of what we do from sort of the Apple, put the user at the center of the experience. If you can turn that around and say, okay, I know you're feeling vulnerable and frustrated. Let me make learning a wonderful experience for you. Let me show you exactly what you need to do. And you don't need to like, subscribe, smash the notification bell. You don't need to hit rewind every 3 seconds. And you don't need to go somewhere and find a piece of paper and search and search and search until you can find specifically what you need to do. It's all there and you can scroll up and down through it, find exactly what you need to do and do it.
Damn, Clint, when are you getting IKEA as a client? I hate putting together furniture and instructions confuse me all the time because I'm not a builder.
I'm the same. I absolutely detest putting together furniture, and I have friends that love it. I'm not one of those. Um, yeah, and unfortunately, IKEA is the best out there
Yes, they're good. They're good.
when it
I
comes to
bought a piece.
instructions.
I bought actually. I have a closet, huge closet. It looked wonderful when I bought it because I looked at it and it was already mounted. When we were putting it together, I had to call my father for help with that because he is a builder. The instructions. It wasn't an IKEA closet, by the way. It was another brand. The instructions were so convoluted. We were both angry and sweaty and mad at the end of the day because it was just a hassle.
Yeah, yeah, and they're not even like some of my instructions I had were have been photocopied so many times that you couldn't read any of the fine print. And not just that, it was different. Like it says, put screws here, here, and here, and you're looking at, and there's no holes there. And you're like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Or they've changed some of the screws so they're different lengths and they haven't bothered to update the instructions. Now, it shouldn't be that way. Like, why can't it be simple? You know?
Yes, and again, it's part also like Apple. It's part of the IKEA customer experience that even if they are annoying because for people like us, we don't like building furniture, so they are the best ones out there. But the other brands seem not to have caught up to the fact that people don't actually enjoy reading instructions that don't match reality.
Exactly.
How do you deal at Nobi? Let's say that a company is how do I say this without breaking an NDA? Let's say that a company is dealing with a very, it's not a process that for a physical product. It's like for a procedure inside a company. Good. It's called a consulting approach. Let's say that they have that, but in order to put that into an OB, they have to input into the system a lot of confidential information.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that side?
So Knowby is built with the Australian Critical Infrastructure Act in mind. So it's built, with all the data sovereignty within Australia, and it's built so that everything is basically segregated and secured. So that's the backend infrastructure. I can go on for days about that. But inside Knowby itself, you have what's called teams. And let's say, for example, that we have a manufacturing team and a payroll team. And the payroll team needs to create specific Knowbys about their processes, but they don't want the rest of the organization to be able to see that because that's sensitive information. So you can create a Knowby and then restrict it to that specific team so that all your payroll teams, it looks at who you are, it looks at what you've got access to, and it only provides access to those specific Knowbys in that specific team.
Which is great because also at on a organizational level, you don't have also the clutter of everybody's nobbies on one single dashboard. Like, oh my God, the sales team has to like navigate through these
Yep,
hundreds
absolutely.
of HR nobbies before finding their own. Each team can have their own thing.
Exactly. Exactly. It's so easy to be able to say this belongs to HR, this belongs to sales, this belongs to payroll, and this belongs to operations.
That's great. Damn, I ran out of Nobi questions, even though I love the products. I'm going to ask you about your background because you told me before we started recording, you told me you were a filmmaker.
True story. So I started my career. Actually, where do I start? I did mention I went to school in India, in the Himalaya, and while I was there, I studied broadcast journalism. So finished up school with that and made some documentaries while I was there. So yeah, I started my career in the Save Our Seas Foundation, and the Save Our Seas Foundation was really about being able to show people the plight of the world's ocean and create awareness for things, especially like the non-pretty subjects. You've got your dolphins, you've got your whales who are amazing, your seahorses, but the sharks and the rays and everything else out there that people fear and or people have traditionally gone and just killed for sport, you might say. And so yeah, we would create documentaries, and the Save Our Seas Foundation is still running today. It's a wonderful organization, and we would go travel around the world and film the plights of the oceans at that time. And so I was very fortunate to be able to sort of land in a very exciting career from the outset. So I went to all different locations. I've done over 3,000 dives in 30 countries, and and I thought, how is that ever going to tie into Knowby? Years later, after that, I got into video conferencing, worked with different video conferencing companies around the world and implemented video conferencing all over the world. And it's funny how, that Steve Jobs has this, you need to join the dots conversation. Like he was from one of the universities he talked at. And, later down the track, you get to Knowby and you think, well, all of a sudden I know a lot about video codecs. I know a lot about compression. I know a lot about, how a video should look on a screen and, how to tell a story with video and those kind of things. And I would never have thought that, working for a documentary film as a documentary filmmaker with the Save Our Seas Foundation would put me in a position where I understand the technology and background required to be able to teach people remotely using a tool like Knowby.
I love that story because it's I find this to be a common thing in life for people who are paying attention to how they live. There's always a moment where you connect the dots. The Steve Jobs thing. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. Happened to
Absolutely.
me as well when I put together all my background, and maybe happened to you as well. But in my case, for the longest time, I thought it was a weakness. Like all this diverse background. I come from a background in hostage negotiation, international relations, and then I went into marketing, and then I went into business, and I went into sales. And all of these things around me, I was like, what do I do with all of this? It's so confusing. Until one day I realized, oh my God, all of this is literally the backbone of business. It's understanding people, it's persuading, selling. And that's how I ended up doing what I do because I
Yep.
connected the dots and I was like, wow, it actually had a sense. I just need to look back and put it together.
Absolutely. And every time you pick up a new skill, every time you get through a new challenge, that's a tool that goes in your toolbox. And you don't know when you're going to need that pull out of you don't know when you're going to need to pull that tool out of your toolbox and use it. But I guarantee you, there's been things that I've sitting there and gone, wow, I did this 12 or 15 years ago. And all of a sudden I need to pull that tool out again and I need to use it. And so, and I'm sure it's exactly the same with you.
It is. No experience is ever lost.
Exactly, exactly. You're learning every single day.
It's wonderful. Listen, would you, as a filmmaker, would you do you miss it? Would you do that again? Do you have any plans
Uh,
to start making films again?
I, um,
Never
so
stopped.
yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely passionate about photography, you know, about sort of the technology behind photography, and those kind of things. Um, so what I love about making film is about being able to capture, you know, beauty in a single image or, you know, in a few seconds of video. Um, and, you know, being able to have something that people look at and just go, wow, that's amazing. So I really enjoy that part of it, especially nature. Um, the challenging part about that was that you spend a lot of time on location. So we did, as an example, we did a documentary about white sharks in South Africa. And we spent at least 6 months in South Africa, you know, over a few years to be able to get, you know, all the different footage that you need. You know, there's like some days there's 10 meters of swells coming through and you're not going out in those days. And other days you have enough visibility to see basically, you know, your hand in front of your face, but nothing else. And you kind of swim with 4 or 5 meter white sharks. It's not really something that you want to sort of play around with. So it takes a long time to be able to get enough footage for like a 60-minute documentary um, that, you know, that's all time away from your family. So the first year of being married, I was 46 weeks on location, 6 weeks with my wife. So it sounds like an amazing thing, and it is. You know, at the time, it was amazing to be able to go and do all of those things and film all of those different animals all around the world in different locations. And it's just an incredible experience. But what nobody talks about is that you start your day when the sun rises and you don't get to bed until like midnight. And you might be on location for 3 or 4 weeks, and every single day you may be getting about 5 hours sleep, and you are just working to maximize the amount of time on location as much as possible. So you kind of get to a point where you go, you know, I had a great time and all, but I actually want a family. I want to be there for them. You know, I want to be able to do other things in life. So yes, I absolutely loved it. I had a wonderful time, but I couldn't go back to that right now. And I admire everybody who's doing it because it's wonderful and it's a wonderful experience and I enjoyed it. But there are other things I want to do in life. You know, like we have a saying like done there, been that, what's next, right? And to me, what's next is Knowby. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I love right now.
It shows. And also, you know, you're into photography too, and that's less time extensive, meaning you can go out one Sunday morning when everybody's sleeping and take
Exactly.
photographs at night. I mean, I used to be a photographer, one of the many things, for like a year and a half. And unfortunately, my camera broke, but I used to have this habit where I would go out on a Sunday and just take pictures around the city.
Yeah,
You just capture some moments, you get that off your system because you love doing that too. It's not as time extensive as having to be on a set for months, which is it's a huge commitment. With a family, it becomes impossible.
absolutely. And it's also something that, you know, right now I do it for myself and I get to do it in my time. And I also, if I don't feel like taking photos, I won't. But sometimes I'll go out and I can just, you know, I live in a beautiful area of the world, and a lot of the people who live here, they know it's beautiful, but they don't see it in the way that, you know, a kid who used to live in the outback, sort of, you know, or in like regional Australia, sees it completely different. The mountains, the valleys, the snow caps is totally different to the way that, you know, a person who lives here and sees it.
It's true.
So I get to see it and I get to experience it from that different angle. And then I get to take my photos and show, you know, through the lens that I see it from. And I think it's really, it's a lot of fun. It's something I just really enjoy doing, and, you know, it's good downtime.
Way less pressure too and less commitment than having to do it for somebody for a paycheck anyway.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, and I absolutely love doing it for the paycheck. Don't get me wrong, but when I get a rainy day now, it's not a big deal. But if I get a rainy day with storms when you're on location and you've got all the crew there and you've got, all the boats there and you've got everything there, but you have no way of doing it, there's a lot of stress.
Bet.
Yeah.
Listen, we are reaching the top of the hour, so I want to thank you for joining the show. It was a great conversation. Where can people find you, get in touch, read more about Knowby? Or, I mean, if you listen to this and you run any kind of process and you don't feel drawn to this, I don't know what to tell you. So if they want to basically buy from you, where can they do that?
So www.knowby.co, you can go there and see all the examples. You'll be able to sign up. You have a 30-day free trial, which you can access anytime. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn. Search for Clint Collins, Knowby. Can't miss me. So we're here to help. If there's any questions or anything you need from us, give us a shout. Sebastian, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I was looking forward to this. Again, expected great things. Great things happened. It was a good conversation. People, this was the Tech of Tomorrow podcast with Sebastian Hidalgo. I am Sebastian Hidalgo today with Clint Collins. I just realized that I didn't give you the housekeeping notes, so please follow the show, subscribe, leave a comment, and support on Spotify, YouTube. The channel is too small. Please follow so I can keep bringing on cool guests like Clint. That's it for today. I will see you next week in the next episode. Bye bye.
Alrighty. So this is Knowby Pro on the web, and this is part of our just example section, and there's plenty of examples in here that you can see. But in a nutshell, something like cannulation, which is something that's is quite difficult to do, it is something you can break down into very simple instructions. And this is how it looks. So for the health industry as an example, you need to wash your hands, and how to clean the tray. And you see, as you watch this, you'll see like the video will play, and then when it gets to the end, it will just start again. So the videos are short so that you don't have to, hit rewind or anything like that. You can watch this a dozen times and you can go to the next step and see, okay, this is what you need to do next. But hang on, wait, what did I need to do in the previous step? You just click back up and you can go to the previous step again. So it is incredibly simple, incredibly simple. And then you can share it. So I can, for example, share a QR code. And I'll make this one is a public one. And if you want to share that, if you want to take a picture with your phone real quick, you'll be able to see that straight up. So have you got a phone there, Sebastian? You can just give it a
Yes.
try.
Give me a second. Give me a try.
And on top of that, there's a whole bunch of languages that I can have it available in as well. So if I wanted in Indonesian, as an example,
Oh, I see it now. It opened.
Spanish. So in the Arabic, there's over 130 languages to choose from. So you can add it in as many languages as you want. Deutsch gibt's auch.
I love the interface. I can just scroll and there's all the steps there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it doesn't get any simpler than that. So now the amazing part about it now is I might just show you a quick video. So bear with me a second. I'll stop share and I'll reshare again. So what I'll show you is just an example of a video that is taken in a normal sort of environment. I'll just share my screen, share sound. Here we go.
Okay. First step, we want to push these in, make sure they're all up nice and tight. We don't want any gaps as the magazine unloads. Second step, we grab a handful, make sure they're tearing away nicely from the other ones. Nothing too big, so you're not trying to lift too much. Manageable amount. Want to fit it in. Tuck the sides in. With a little lift. Make sure you still have that same uniform way all the way through with no gaps. And then see, now we go third which is still just loading.
So I'll stop it there. It's, as you can see, it's a basic person filming a process. It doesn't need to be amazing. There's a lot of noise. He's got an Australian accent as well, so you add the accent to it. If you were following that along on a video, it could be quite noisy and quite distracting. But what I'll do is I'll share my screen again, and I'll bring it up in Knowby. And this is what Knowby AI allows you to do. It's amazing. So you can click on here and you can generate a Knowby with AI. And then I'm going to upload that video right now. It is just right here. It's uploading. It's only a short video, so it just takes the time to upload. I'm on Deutsche Telekom, so I haven't got glass fiber yet.
Okay. No worries.
And when that gets up, sorry, it's taking a bit long.
Yeah, no worries. It's fascinating though. I like it. So this will basically turn the video we just saw into steps like the ones I have here for the medical industry, the cannulation process.
That's it. Let me just try that again. I think my internet connection.
Maybe it got stuck. Okay. Wait a second. Yeah, my throat is leaving me.
Yeah, I hear you.
It cannot leave me. I have another podcast at 4.
Oh, good luck. So here we go. I generate it with Knowby AI. I'll click here, hello magazines. And then here we go. So once it's done uploading, next it's going to start generating the Knowby using AI. So what it's doing there, it's actually listening to the video itself, and it's creating those step-by-step instructions based off the audio from the voiceover instructions. See, that's it created right there.
That was quick.
That quick. And if we go into right now, you can see, boom, it's created, a title. It's got some description there, and you can see straight away it has generated. First step, we want to push these in, make sure they're nice and tight. We don't want any gaps. It creates those step-by-step instructions within seconds. I can then go in here as an example, and inside what we just released called Knowby Studio, you can actually make a whole bunch of changes. You can crop, you can change covers, you can, so I could have it like, this could be the front cover, like cover image. I can go in here and I can adjust the ins and the outs of each of the videos as well. So I can make it shorter or longer, by adjusting them here. I can crop them, I can annotate, write stuff on them, or I can put stickers on there, for example. This kind of stuff. Additionally, I can, format this any way I want. I can put dots in there. I can add links. So I'll make a hyperlink. So you can do like all the typical formatting you would expect. And you can add, these are the languages we have. So there is really no end to the number of languages. I've found languages that I didn't even know existed, to be honest.
All of this for $3 per month per user.
Yep. It's a cup of coffee. It's actually less than a cup of coffee. So it's at a point, it's at a price point where you shouldn't need to think about the price. It's really just about the value. It's what do you need to be able to get achieved? This is what it is. So then
it's a no-brainer price point, to be honest.
It's a no-brainer, exactly. So when you speak the language, you can go through and you can actually mark those, mark them as they're being translated correctly. So you verify the translation, but then you can see in here, for example, so laden Sie Magazine perfekt, Magazine, and then I am not even going to try the Italian, but there you go. You can submit it for approval and then share it using a QR code and link. And in seconds, I've gone from having a video of a process that has just been filmed with a noisy environment, strong Australian accent, hasn't had any video editing done to it, to having a step-by-step instruction created and shareable anywhere in the world, just like that. That's Knowby.